Abusia for 2024 abatone ama amanfo bebre na amoto especially NPP supporters in Arehoa na chese omu edi na eno na chese general secretary for NPP amayiku na Kojo Nkrumah ede insembi abegu apawa so after say 2024 abatone eko ewi let's say overcome home na ye chese yakoji ensem mu nchim na adwenche bia won so won waja na e comment section ase ede amai.
But you see Kojo Nkrumah in your short because he is one of those very few, very lucky. In fact, if you won and you're an NDC, you're an MPP parliamentary candidate and you've won, you will be counted as very few lucky ones who actually scrape through this green wall that is sweeping across the country. In his case, he comes in winner, 18,601, 58.1% in Ofuasaribi. The NDC's candidate, Alfred Osei-Poku, comes in at 13,415, 41.9%. That is just half the story. Kojo Nkrumah drops in terms of actual votes from some 22,000 in the previous elections to 18,000 now. Kojo, this definitely is something that gladdens you nonetheless. A win is a win. Give me your quick reaction to this when you found the outcome, knowing what was happening across the country.
Well, so let me say good afternoon to your colleagues in the studio and to your audiences. We were tracking the polling station attendance from 7 a.m. every 30 minutes with our tracking system. And by midday, we had about 40% turnout. And it gave us reason to worry because looking at our target per polling station, it gave us reason to worry that, our numbers were not turning up to vote as much as we desired. And so we had to step up our sweeping system to ensure that we could encourage many of those who had gone to the farms or had gone elsewhere to come in and to cast their vote. I think at the end of it, we're hovering around 60% turnout. And as you then compare it to the averages in the region and across the country, we're pleased at the results that we had, albeit disappointed in the national performance of the New Patriotic Party and our candidates.
And indeed, for you in Ofuasaribi, and as I've just been indicating, if you go to 2020, the last time you were in an election there, you came in with 22,551 of the votes there. And this same gentleman who is now very close to you was at 12,000. He's increased his slightly by close to 1,000 votes. And you've dropped, I believe, just around 4,000 votes.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
And you would find on the ground that there are about 4,000 party members who refused to vote, or there are about 4,000 sympathizers of our party who refused to vote. And they explained to us some of the reasons for which they were angry and refusing to vote. That kind of aligns with the story across the country. And what we have to do is to embrace the kind of feedback that they are giving us and go back to the ground and work with it.
I mean, and I just pulled up our trends map here just to give people an understanding of why this, you say, is concerning for you when you started tracking and you realize that people are not showing up to vote. And I must say, you are the best performing parliamentary candidate as far as percentage outcome, as far as the results are concerned in Ofuasaribi, in a place that we know is a stronghold of your party. You have come in with 64% at the last elections. Nobody else had come close to that. The last time this was the case, somebody close to that was in 2004. So going into this, he had significant momentum, right? And Kojo, this must be something that must worry you, considering that elections is all about momentum. You drove a wall through this, and you came with 64.2% the last time. You could, at worst, hold this, but then to drop, something catastrophic must have happened.
The catastrophe is the wind of change, the green wave that's blowing across the country. And you will find that many of my compatriots, right from the coast up north, were suffering major damages. And in the midst of those major damages, we still managed to hold our own and did over 5,000 vote margin. I've said over and over again that the people of Ghana have sent us a very strong message. What we need to do is to embrace that message and to work with it going forward.
Tell me, you said when you noticed that there may be apathy, it worried you. What do you think accounted for the apathy?
Other people told us quite clearly what is accounting for the apathy. There were people who were available in the towns, the villages, some even at the polling stations in my constituency and in other constituencies who told us clearly, we won't vote. We won't vote. Some, for example, will say, unless you give us money. Some will say, we won't vote because we are angry. We won't vote because we are disappointed. And they explained what their issues were. Some of the issues that have led to this apathy or this level of apathy have to do with how we have managed our party and some of the processes that we've gone through in the party, which leave the general party support base feeling angry. For example, when there are primaries and there's a small electoral college and there's a lot of incentives to delegates to vote for a particular candidate, it leaves the broader community angry. For example, there are those who told us that they were not pleased with the conduct of some senior government officials or some political actors, how we have carried ourselves about, at various instances. And they therefore sought to send us a message and to punish us for that. There are those who explain that the cost of living crisis is so severe. And though they hear the explanations about the why, they voted for us as a government to fix it. And they are not impressed with how, much effort we have made in fixing it. And therefore, this is their verdict. And then there were those who told us that they were just, displeased about how we had handled major governance issues, like delivering on major projects or focusing on projects which they thought were totally unimportant or responding to accusations of nepotism and corruption, etc. So they provided a lot of reasons. What we need to do is to embrace these reasons and to work with them to improve our management as a party and our governance the next time we have an opportunity to be in power.
And before the elections, though, many people watching said these sentiments that you're now articulating were very obvious. Everybody said you guys were heading for a catastrophe, but you speak to almost every government official, every spokesperson, all of you were in denial. You were spinning, we are going to turn this around, the economy was doing well. Ghanaians were quietly waiting for your other polls. You concede now that there was a lot of denial among your ranks, and that maybe led to this false sense of security, which now has been stripped off by the voter.
I think what transpired was the fact that the turnaround was not occasioned quickly enough. The administration acknowledged that there were difficulties and put out a number of measures to deal with some of these difficulties. And you began to see the turnaround numbers coming through in the latter part of the year 2024. But in the earlier part of the year and perhaps the year before, the pain had been so much that people had made up their minds. And therefore, no matter how things were turning around, getting to the election season or how projects were being finally completed, if you had major projects that you had not completed for a while and people had made up their mind to vote against you, completing them in the final weeks to the election and commissioning them may not necessarily change the minds of people because they had made up their minds already. Like I say, our job is not to argue with it or to rationalize it. Our job is to embrace it and to work with this feedback.
What do you think is the biggest lesson here?
Well, the political class has to listen a lot more to the Ghanaian public. The power rests with the people. They give us that power for 4 years, and they will hold you accountable at the end of the